श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। सिद्धेश्वरी प्रपन्नाहं गुरुपादार विन्दयोः तस्य प्रेरणया तस्य दिव्यादेशं वदाम्यहम्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः। गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Divine Souls, on page 165, you'll find the Kirtan, Sadhana Karu, Sadhana Karu, Sadhana Karu, Pyare. I'm going to continue from where I left off last time, and that would be with the last verse. साधना में है प्रमुख मन, इंद्रियां नहीं प्यारे। साधना में है प्रमुख मन, इंद्रियां नहीं प्यारे। इंद्रियां नहीं प्यारे। साधना करूं, साधना करूं, साधना करूं प्यारे। साधना करूं, साधना करूं, साधना करूं प्यारे। साधना करूं प्यारे। The Guru is imploring his student, his disciple, sadhana karu, practice devotion. Practice leads to perfection. Practice makes perfect. The Guru is saying, when you practice devotion, then understand that mind is the main one that has to practice devotion. It's not the indriya, it's not the senses, but the mind. The mind practices devotion. Let's understand a little bit about the senses and the mind. Here, the senses of perception, jnanendriya, they are being talked about. Because we have karmendriya as well, arms, legs, and so on. But eyes, ears, tongue, skin, and nose, these are 5 senses of perception. They are jnanendriya. Through these 5, we take in the world. We see the world. We hear the world. We see, hear, taste, touch, and smell so many things of the world, the entire world. And then there is the mind. Above the senses is the mind. In the hierarchy, above the senses is the mind. The mind is greater than the senses. The mind includes the senses within it. The senses do not include the mind within them. When we are fast asleep, we are sleeping. Our body is under a quilt, it's under a blanket, and we are completely motionless. We are laying down without moving at all. And yet, we are doing so many things. We are seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling the world. In our dreams, we accomplish all these tasks, don't we? We are tasting delicacies of the world. We are hearing nice music. We are seeing people. We all have dreams. We know we see people. We see, we hear, we taste, touch, and smell the world. Even though our body is completely motionless. Our senses are under a quilt. Our eyes, ears, nose, and so on. They're under a quilt, but we are still performing all these actions, all the functions of the senses. Why? How? It is because of our mind. Our mind includes the 5 senses within it, so we're able to do everything without using our physical eyes, ears, nose, skin, and etc. The mind is the most powerful thing we have in our possession. It's the most powerful thing. If it's a trained mind, it becomes our best friend. If it remains untrained, then it becomes our worst enemy. We can do anything with our mind. We can be what we want using our mind. How is it that this person is such a good person? So good, so helpful, so God-loving? Because of the mind. And how is it that this one, his twin even, twin brother, he's completely opposite? How did that happen? Same environment, same mother, same everything, same education, same everything, but 2 different minds. So this one went the other way. He's living a life which is not desirable. He's a criminal. How did he become like that? Because he let his mind go. We can do anything with our mind. We can be whatever we want using our mind. Using this mind, countless souls, countless people, our own brothers and sisters, have attained Golok. They have gone to God. They have attained God realization. And using this mind, we are stuck in this material world. It all has to do with the mind. Our sense organs cannot do anything if the mind is absent. We say that, I see with my eyes. I saw it with my own eyes. But we didn't really see it using only our eyes, did we? We used our eyes plus the mind. Eyes plus mind, then we are able to see. Ears plus the mind, we are able to hear. If your mind is elsewhere, in other words, if you're absent-minded, you know that you cannot hear anything. Someone is calling out to you. If you're a mother, let's say, your child is calling out to you, and you can't hear her. You cannot hear your child because your mind is somewhere else. If you're a child, you're not able to hear your mother calling out to you, "Come for dinner, Aryan." Aryan has not heard anything. Why? Is he hard of hearing? No. Then, he was absent-minded. He was so engrossed in doing his homework. Or he was so engrossed in watching TV. So, because he is absent-minded, he can't hear his mother call out to him. Sometimes people take offense. I said hello to you and you didn't acknowledge me. And you think, what are you talking about? I didn't even see you. I was standing right in front of you. This is how misunderstandings happen, right? You know that. The other person says, who do you think you are? You're too good for me. You become so great and so mighty, so great. Mahan ban gaye ho, sant ho gaye ho, pranam kare tumhe. Why are you saying all this? Because I called out to you. I was right in front of you. I said hello. I said Radhe Radhe, and there was no reaction from you. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see you. How is that possible? You're not blind. I didn't hear you. You're not deaf. No, but you see, I was really upset. Something really terrible happened in my life, and I was really upset, and my mind was elsewhere. So without our mind, without the help of the mind, without the mind being involved, our senses cannot do anything. They are helpless. There's a true story that I'm going to tell you, and perhaps you've heard it before. The great personality, Ramakrishna Paramhans, he was going through the marketplace. Actually, he was trying to follow that grandiose festival called Rath Yatra, the chariot festival that happens once a year. When Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, these three deities, they're taken out of the mandir and they're taken on a chariot and they actually leave the temple. So they're followed by hundreds of thousands of people. And there is so much joyful noise being created by hundreds of thousands of people. It's not a quiet thing. They're not walking quietly. They are chanting, they're dancing, they're singing, there are drums, and there's so much joyful noise. Ramakrishna Paramhans wanted to know which way the procession had proceeded. So he was passing through the marketplace. He didn't know which way to go, and he asked a shopkeeper, an artist, Bhaiya, which way did the Rath Yatra go? And this man said, Holy sir, I didn't see any Rath Yatra. The Rath Yatra did not pass by here. Ramakrishna Paramhans was perplexed. And the neighboring shopkeeper overheard, and he chastised this man, and he said, why would you lie about such a thing, and that too, to a great saint? This is a great saint. Why would you lie? What would be your motive? The Rath Yatra passed by half an hour ago. And there were so many people here. You didn't see anything, you didn't hear anything. And that man said, I have no reason to lie. I really didn't see or hear anything. Well, Ramakrishna Paramhans. Paramhans means one who doesn't see anything, one who doesn't hear anything, one who does not touch anything, one who doesn't know anything, one who does not think anything but himself. He's completely absorbed in the self. He is a Paramhans. Ramakrishna Paramhans sat down in this man's shop. He went into samadhi and he determined the truth. And the truth was that this man was indeed telling the truth. He really hadn't heard anything. He hadn't seen anyone. How? Why? Because his mind was completely absorbed in the task at hand. This man was drawing pictures. That's what he did for a living. He drew pictures, he painted them, he sold them. He was so absorbed in doing his work that hundreds of thousands of people went unnoticed by him. So many joyful sounds of drums, manjiras, jhanj, pakhavaj, so many instruments, but he was deaf to them because his mind was elsewhere. Isn't it amazing how powerful the mind is? So the senses are helpless without the mind, but the mind can do everything without needing the senses. It doesn't need the senses. You go ahead, go under the quilt, go and take a rest, go under the sheets, and I'm going to do my work. I don't need you, says the mind. So when we practice devotion, obviously we need to have the mind involved in devotion. Obviously, that should be obvious to us, but it's not obvious to us because we content ourselves by using our senses in the practice of devotion. When we do sadhana, we are very content using our senses. With our eyes, we see the image of God and we say, oh, darshan ho gaya, bahut acha ho gaya. I have taken darshan of Bhagwan. I have taken darshan of my Gurudev. I have purified my eyes. I have heard the words of my Guru. Oh, I have purified my ears. Maine to apne kaan pavitra kar liye. We become very complacent. I have seen my Guru. I have seen the images of God. So I have seen them. That's my devotion. I have heard the katha, the spiritual stories, the devotional stories, and I have heard the knowledge pertaining to God. I have purified my ears. I have heard kirtans and bhajans. Aha, how beautiful they were. I have purified my ears. I have tasted the prasad. A lot of people fight over prasad. Guruji has left this food, and you got so much. You got a whole fistful of food, and I got just a couple of grains. And there seems to be sometimes there's a competition. You got more, I got less. Can I have some of your prasad? As if by tasting the prasad, we are going to attain Golok. We are not. As long as the mind is not thinking of the importance and the holiness, that divinity of that food, that prasad. The word prasad means grace. So that food has been sanctified by the touch of God, by the touch of the Guru. If we don't have that feeling, and it's just a feeling of competition, oh, he got more, I got less, she got more, they all got so much, I only got 1 or 2 grains of rice, that's all I got. The mind is not at all thinking about what a privilege it is to have even 1 grain of prasad. There was a devotee in the time, in the life period of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. You know what he used to do? Gauranga Mahaprabhu would eat the food, and if there was some food, maybe a few grains of rice, and it would get washed away and would go into the gutter, and it was even not only Ramakrishna, not only Gauranga Mahaprabhu, but even the devotees of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And this devotee, so elevated he was, that he would pick grains of rice from the drain, and then he would take it as prasad. He understood the meaning and significance of prasad. Gauranga Mahaprabhu has said, Bhakta pada dhuli, bhakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avashishta, tin mahabal, ei tin sheva hoite Krishna prema hoy. He said there are 3 things that, when accepted, will give you love for Sri Krishna in your heart. The dust of the Guru's lotus feet, a saint's lotus feet. The water that has washed a saint's lotus feet. And the food remnants of a saint. He has eaten, and then there is some leftovers. That is his prasad. These 3 are the greatest strengths of an aspirant. But the mind has to be involved. The mind has to understand the significance of the prasad, of the charan raj, the holy foot dust, and charan dhovan, charanamrit. If it's just taken mindlessly, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't give us any benefit. So the mind has to be involved. It has to be involved if devotion is going to bear fruit. If our practice of devotion is going to bear the desirable fruit, then it has to involve the mind. Uddhav ji had said to Sri Krishna, Tvayopabhukta. He said, whatever you eat, whatever you wear, whatever fragrances you use, I shall use them. After you have used them, I shall use them. And I will conquer your maya using the strength of those prasadis. You have worn those ornaments, now I will wear them. And I will be reminded of you constantly when I wear them. I will use the itra, the perfume that you have used, and I will remember you. I will remember you when I use them. I'll wear the clothes that you have discarded. And through that prasadi, I will remember you that my Lord has worn these clothes, and now I'm wearing them. I will use all these prasadis of yours. And I challenge you, my Lord, that I will conquer your maya. Because I will think about you when I use these prasadis. This is why Sri Maharaji made the prasadis available to us. Whether it was in the form of an ornament, devotees would give many, many gold ornaments, and what was Maharaji going to do with it? He gave them out. He gave them out as prasadis to devotees. Sri Maharaji would receive many, many gifts, many precious gifts, and he would give them away. He would give them as prasadis. Why? because we would have memories of his. That Radhe Shami, Maharajji gave it to me with his own hands, with his own merciful hands. Oh, this sari, oh yes, Maharajji gave it. Even this rupee, Maharajji used to give rupees, and we used to write down, on this day Maharajji gave me this. So that becomes a memorable memento. It becomes such a wonderful memory, so many memories attached. Sri Maharajji gave household goods, flashlight, thermos. Why? Because these are the things we use every day, and we would remember him. We would remember him, and by remembering him, our heart will become a little bit more pure, depending on how much we remember him. So the mind has to be involved in the practice of devotion. There's a Hindi saying, Jahan man wahan hum. You are where your mind is. You're sitting in the mandir. I was sitting in the mandir. But your mind, where was the mind? Oh, it was in the world. It was roaming all around. It was going to Paris. It was going to Spain. It was going to Europe. It was going to the Far East. It was going all over. Then you were not in the mandir, were you? You were not in the temple. But you could be on a yacht. You could be taking a cruise. And you could be with God. You can be in Golok while you're physically on the yacht. You're shopping, and you could be in the temple. You can be in your guru's ashram because of the mind. In the Bhagavad, Navdha Bhakti is talked about. Navdha Bhakti, ninefold devotion. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. 9 types of devotion. Canto 7, chapter 5, verse 23. Out of these 9, 3 are the main ones. And they are the ones that are mentioned. These are the first 3. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. 3. And by the way, it may interest you to know that these are the words of Bhakta Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu had come back to his kingdom after performing austere penance. And when he came back, he was very affectionate towards Prahlad, his little son. He called his son, he called Prahlad, Prahlad, idhar aao, aao beta. And Prahlad rushed to his father's arms. His father sat on his throne, and he put Prahlad in his lap. And very affectionately, he asked his son, Beta, tumhe kya pasand hai? What do you like to do? What are you interested in? And the answer Prahlad gave was this: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. Father, I like to hear the glory of God being chanted. I like to hear the glory of Sri Hari. I like to hear the knowledge of scriptures. I like to chant. Father, I love to chant the names of Sri Hari. I like to chant his names. I like to sing songs of his glory. Sometimes I do Nam Sankirtan, I chant his names. Hari Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol. Radhe Govind, Govind Radhe. Sometimes I do Nam Sankirtan. Father, sometimes I do Gun Sankirtan. Murali Manohar Karuna Sagar. Murali Manohar Karuna Sagar. I like to chant his names, one who is infinitely merciful, Father. Sometimes I sing about his leelas. I like to sing his pastimes. I've heard so many of them. I like to sing them. Rang goro kari deri maiya mero. Maiya mohi da de makhan roti. Maiya mohi de makhan roti. And Father, I like to do smaranam bhakti. I like to meditate. I like to do Rup Dhyan on Sri Hari. And then he went on to say that there's 6 other things he likes to do, but the gist is, I like to do Shravanam Bhakti, to listen to God's glories. Secondly, I like to chant, using my tongue. I like to chant His names, His virtues, His pastimes. I like to meditate on Him. I like to do Rup Dhyan. Please keep your book closed. I like to do Rup Dhyan. So these are the 3 main ones out of 9. And out of these 3, one is the important one. There's only one that is the important one, the one we cannot do without. And that is Smaranam. Smaranam Bhakti. Rup Dhyan, that is the main thing. Everything else, all the other practices have been devised, they have been told to us so that we may meditate on God. That's it. Why should we hear the glory of God? So that we may think of God. Why should I go to holy places, visit there? So that my mind may think of God. Jap, tap, niyam, yog, nij dharma, shruti sambhav nana shubh karma, ज्ञान दयादम तीरथ मज्जन, जहाँ लगी धर्म कहे श्रुति सज्जन, आगम निगम पुराण अनेका, पढ़े सुने कर फल प्रभु एका, तव पद पंकज प्रीति निरंतर, सब साधन कर यह फल सुंदर. Saint Tulsidas ji says, no matter what you are doing, jap, tap, you are taking the rosary beads, prayer beads, and then you're letting them slip through your fingers. Every bead is slipping through your fingers as you chant in your mind or externally, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That is jap, tap. You subject your body to great hardships. You subject your body to extreme cold, extreme heat. You are just doing tapascharya, you're doing penance. Hiranyakashipu did for many, many years. He stood on the strength of his one toe with his hands up above his head, and he went without food and water for so many years. That is tapascharya. If you do that, I don't think we can do that in this day and age, in Kali Yuga. We can't even hardly stand on 2 feet, and then to stand on 1 foot and going like this and do without food and water, Hiranyakashipu did. But even if you do, says Tulsidas ji, you are taking a dip in the holy Ganges, holy Ganga ji or Yamuna ji, Narmada, these holy rivers. You're going to various places of pilgrimage. You're doing Tirth Yatra. You're fasting. You're following the niyam, the rules, laws of the Vedas. You're doing all that. What should be the outcome of doing all this? The outcome should be that you have fallen in love with God. Tava pad pankaj preeti nirantar. My mind must start loving the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the outcome, that I should fall in love with God. That is the outcome of all these practices. That should be the outcome. Well, that didn't happen for me. I have been going on various Tirth Yatras for so many years, but I haven't fallen in love with God. I go there and I come back, I go again, I come back, but I'm unchanged. The whole purpose behind going to holy places is to fall in love with God. In the olden days, there used to be real saints in holy places. And so anyone who wanted to know about God could go there and he could learn about God from these saints who used to be in those holy places. Nowadays, of course, there's a lot of commercialism. But Sri Maharaj Ji used to say, if you come to Vrindavan, then you should come with such preparation that before you even step into Vrindavan, you should faint, you should lose consciousness. You should have so much love for Vrindavan, the divine abode of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, that you should be thinking, his tiny lotus feet graced this very ground that I am standing on. This is the very ground. This is the very dirt that he ate. Brahmand Ghat in Vrindavan. Over there, when you go there, they give you these laddus made of dirt, because that is where Sri Krishna had revealed his universal form to his mother, Yashoda, by opening his mouth. And so he was eating dirt over there. And when Maya asked, have you been eating dirt? He said, no. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I didn't eat it. Well, open your mouth. And that frightened him so much that his mouth opened all by itself. And Yog Maya came in and showed Yashoda Maya countless universes within that tiny little mouth of her son. So that is Brahmand Ghat, and that's where you get those laddus made of dirt. And people love to get that prasad over there. So Sri Maharaji used to say, before you come physically to Vrindavan, make sure you get mentally prepared. And I had shared with you once, Sri Maharaji had said, make sure, he had written to me in a letter, make sure that whoever you bring to me, you can bring anyone, but make sure that whoever you bring is prepared. Prepare their mind, then bring them to me. So when we go to holy places, or whether we go to a holy place, or we chant the name of God, we do anything, observe a fast, we chant, we sing the glories of God, we fast, we recite from the scriptures, we take dips in the holy rivers. No matter what we are doing, the end result should be that our mind must fall in love with God. Because the mind is the main thing. Mind is the one that practices devotion. The indriya, the sense organs, the eyes, ears, and so on, they are helpers. We forget this, don't we? They're helpers. They're there to help the mind. So it doesn't mean that, oh, I will just do devotion with my mind and I will not do anything with my sense organs. Now, I will not use my eyes to behold the image of my Guru and of Bhagwan. No, I won't do that. And I will not hear any glory of God being chanted. No, do all that, because that will help you to think of God. So we should be doing all that because it will help us to think of God, but we must not lose sight of the main thing that practices devotion, and that is our mind. If we are not practicing devotion with the mind, if we're just becoming very complacent, using our body in the practice of devotion, then pride comes in. Pride comes in. And that pride says, you are a good devotee, you have done so much bhajan kirtan, you have been singing for the last 5 hours, you are so good. Sri Maharaji used to say, be very careful about this pride. It will come in. If you're not doing Rup Dhyan, you're just using your body to do devotion, then pride will come in. It will tell you that you are better than the rest. And the very first principle in devotional practice is, you think yourself to be the lowest than the lowest. You are lower than the lowest. Trinadapi sunichen tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena. Gauranga Mahaprabhuji's words in one of his 8 verses. Be more humble than a blade of grass, be more tolerant than a tree, give respect to one and all, but do not desire it for yourself. So the very first principle of devotional practice is to be humble. And we lose that. We lose whatever little humility we have by thinking, oh, I am a great, great devotee. A devotee said to me, someone said to me, I get up. Someone said to me, this one, she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, why does anyone know that she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Oh, 4 बजे उठ के भोग बनाती हैं, फिर भोग लगाती हैं, फिर भगवान को दिए बिना चाय भी नहीं पीती हैं वो. She gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and she makes lots of food for God, then she offers that food, and then she eats. And why would everybody know that in the satsang? Why does everybody know it? Why is this being advertised? It's not right. So obviously, she told someone, and that someone said, wow, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day. Every single day. Every single day. So this brings about pride. Pride that we're trying to stay away from. Pride that we're trying to destroy within us. Roop Dhyan is the first word in devotional practice, and it is the last. As many of you know, Sri Maharaj Ji had put in words of gold, Roop Dhyan kijiye. Do Roop Dhyan. Just a reminder to everyone. The next verse is similar. मोक्ष अरु बंधन का कारण, मोक्ष अरु बंधन का कारण, एक मन ही प्यारे. मोक्ष अरु बंधन का कारण, एक मन ही प्यारे, एक मन ही प्यारे. Mind alone is the reason behind bondage, bondage of this material world, and liberation, liberation from it. You can go beyond this material world using your mind, and you can remain stuck in this material world. You can be bound by Maya using your mind. Mind is the only reason. Mana eva, only the mind. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Every word of Sri Maharaj Ji, every statement of Sri Maharaj Ji is backed up by scriptural evidences, right? Scriptural quotations. So the Panchadashi says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh, and Sri Maharaj Ji has said it in a language that more people understand. Moksha aru bandhan ka karan, ek man hi pyare. If we take our mind, if we become careful with it, our mind can take us all the way to Sri Krishna's abode. We can go all the way to our divine beloved. It will take us all the way there. Countless souls have done it before. We can also do it. When we used to go for 35-day long sadhana in Sri Maharaj Ji's presence, Sri Maharaj Ji used to say, when the sadhana program was about to end, he would say, "You are going to go home now. You must be very careful now because you've accumulated a lot of devotion here. Don't waste it when you go home. Don't waste it." But he knew the reality, so he would say, "Oh, the first thing you'll do when you get home is you'll sleep a lot. You'll think, I have been deprived of sleep for a whole month and more. I must sleep." Then Shri Maharaj used to say, then your wife will wake you up and she'll say, "Come now, time to have your breakfast." No, just leave me alone. I don't want any breakfast. I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. And then when you finally get up, then your wife has made simple dal chawal, something simple, and then you'll say, "Oh, this is what I ate in the ashram all these days. Now I want matar paneer. I want puri, kachori. I want the goodies. I don't want the simple food anymore." Shri Maharaj Ji knew very well that the mind will become really careless because in an ashram, the atmosphere is totally different. It's devotionally charged, and everybody's getting up early in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Everybody's getting up early in the morning. It seems effortless. Everybody's getting up. I have to get up too, so you get used to it. But as soon as a person goes back home, then that discipline is broken. But Sri Maharaj Ji kept that sadhana program for a month because that's a substantial amount of time in which to train your mind. We could train our mind going there for 35 days. So if somebody went there for 2 or 3 days, Maharaj Ji would say, "You just came here to touch me? That's it? Chhu ke ja rahe ho? You touched me and now you're going?" "Maharaj Ji, I came for your darshan." Maharaj Ji said, "Don't be under the impression that you'll get anything by just having darshan. You must stay. You must stay for some time. You must do sadhana. You must do sadhana." How will your mind transform itself? How will you change your mind? We can't change our mind in a short period of time. We need to have a lot of devotion. We need to do devotion for a long time. For that devotion to take a little bit of effect, good effect on our mind, we need to do a whole lot of it. As opposed to worldly association, we need to have a little bit of kusang, we need to hear a little bit of kusang. Really? Oh my goodness. And our mind is gone. And it has this much effect. This much kusang has this much ill effect. This much satsang has this much good effect. So Maharaji would say, come and stay over here, stay. I used to think Maharaji is begging people to stay. This is Kali Yuga after all. He would beg people. Why do you want to go back to your hell, he would ask. And it was really heartbreaking. He would say, why do you want to, apne narak mein phir se jana cha rahe ho? Kya milega wahan par? He used to say, what are you going to find over there? Why are you going back to your hell that you came from? What are you going to get? The beautiful atmosphere of an ashram and the Guru's presence, such a strong, powerful Guru, his presence, there is no substitute. No substitute. Someone would say, oh, why? I can do the same devotion at home. No, you can't. No, sir. No, ma'am. You can't do it. You have to be extremely, extremely disciplined. And most of us are not that disciplined. So to shape our mind and to make it into a desirable mind, we need to have a lot of satsang. We need to give ourselves that pure association. And then the mind will take us all the way out of this material world. Living in the material world, we will live outside of it. It will not pervade our mind. This world will not pervade the mind if our mind has become strong. Chandana vishvyape nahi lipate rahat bhujang. Sant Rahim, he was a Muslim man, and he was very great devotee of Sri Krishna. He had said, the sandalwood tree is such that there are poisonous snakes that make it their home. They're wound all around the tree, but the tree is not adversely affected by the poison of the snakes. Because the tree it has that capability, it has that strength to remain immune from the poison. But every tree is not chandan vriksh. Every tree is not sandalwood tree. So other trees are affected. If one of our brothers or sisters, one of our fellow humans, if that person becomes very strong-minded, extremely strong-minded, then kusang of the world is not going to affect him. But we are not in that category yet, so we need a lot of satsang. So retreats like these ones, they become very precious. They become very, very valuable for us. They become very important. They can change our mind in such a beautiful way. We should value them. We should value them properly. A woman, she was a vegetable seller. Somebody came with a diamond and said, how many vegetables, what will you give me for this? And she said, I'll give you half a kilo of vegetables for it. And he smiled. Is that all? All right. You know, my son would like to play with this little shiny thing, so I'll give you 1 kilo vegetables. He went elsewhere, and that fellow said, I'll give you $5,000. And this fellow smiled and went away. Then he met an expert, a gemologist, and that man said, I'll give you 100,000 for it. Because he understood the value. The vegetable seller was willing to give 1 kilo of vegetables for this precious diamond, that's all, because she didn't know the value. We must recognize the value of what we have. Because if we don't understand it, then it's just, theek hai, retreat ho rahi hai. Retreat is going on. I'll go once in a while. Sometimes when I mention such a thing, some people say, I'll promise you I'll be there one day. I don't want a promise from you. It's something for your good. It's for your good. You don't have to promise me. Do it for yourself. We don't do satsang, we don't attend a retreat for someone else. We should do it for ourselves. But it's all a matter of understanding the importance of what has been given to us. And that importance is understood by the mind. It all starts with the mind, it ends with the mind. Mind is the reason why we are stuck in this material world, and mind is the reason that so many of our own brothers and sisters have gone to the divine kingdom of God. They have attained divinity, and now they are in unlimited bliss for all eternity. So our mind is the most powerful tool we have. We must understand it. We must use it. We must not think that devotion is done just by bowing our head or clapping our hands, opening our mouth and reciting some words. These are all helpful tools to make the mind more interested in God. I shall continue from this next time. बोलिए लाडली लाल की जय, श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय. जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे. Please face the screens. We'll be watching the lighter moments with Sri Maharaj Ji.